Today is session number 8 of our 10-week journey to strong side splits, and it's great to have you back and see you've remained disciplined with this training program. If you can maintain this level of discipline, then I know you'll complete the entire 10-week program and achieve strong side splits for awesome flexibility. It's so good to have you back for another session of flexibility training as we work towards strong side splits. I hope you've recovered nicely from the previous training session so that we can get straight back into it, starting with 30 squats to warm up our quads and glutes. And I'll say it again, like I always do, just take it easy when you start a warm-up. It's not a race. All you need to do is 30 reps in 60 seconds. And of course, do it with great technique. So with great technique in mind, get your butt back and keep your knees behind your toes when you squat down. This session is number 8 now, so I think you could really try to get some good depth in your squats and try your best to get your quads down at least parallel with the ground. Also, do your best to get a consistent breathing pattern. Breathe in when you go down and breathe out as you go up, because that's going to help you not to get too tired. Yeah, you really want to pace yourself because the training session today runs for about 26.5 minutes and you want to give your best for the full duration. Let's do our 30 HAMSPINES next, so we keep on warming up our big muscle groups. And if you stick to good technique, then this should be really a simple exercise. Just make sure you keep a straight back as you go down and then initiate the lift with your hamstrings first. But still, even though the exercise is relatively easy, you don't want to rush through it, because if you don't warm up properly, if you go into the actual stretching exercises that are coming up, if you go into them cold, then you'll just waste those exercises as your body's going to use them as a warm-up instead. Okay, I know I've said it before, but that's because I really want to emphasize the importance of a solid warm-up. And the main reasons you need a good warm-up is to increase blood flow through your target muscles and also to actually help raise the internal temperature of your target muscles as well. That way you're much more prepared and ready to perform at higher levels of intensity and greater ranges of motion. And both of those variables, intensity and range, both are specifically relevant to our training here for strong side splits. Okay, I'll probably bring it up a few more times in future sessions, but I hope I've made a really clear and solid case for a specific warm-up just like this. So yeah, do your best with the warm-up. Focus on correct technique first, the way I demonstrate in the warm-up demo video. And remember, even with all that, it really is still just a warm-up. If you keep at it for a set time, your heart rate and breathing are going to naturally go up, okay? You don't really need to go overboard. Just take it easy at first, and when you're comfortable, if you're comfortable, try to increase your range just a little bit. See if you can lean down a little bit lower while you keep a straight back. Next up, we're doing 30 elbows, knees for our adductor group. And remember, the exercises are sequenced this way so that we start by warming up the bigger muscle groups first, the quads and glutes and hamstrings. And then it's a bit safer and easier to move on to warming up smaller muscle groups like the adductor group on the inside of our hips. If you kind of struggle with this stretch because your quads are burning out and you're really getting tired, try to really get your feet out wide and then lean forward. Really try to tip forward so that you're leaning, so that you're really resting your elbows on your knees. Then your quads are going to do a lot less work and you can focus on stretching your adductors. And now we have 15 side squats, 15 for each side, so that's a total of 30 reps. Like the previous warm-up exercise, it really helps to start with your feet really wide, and from there you kind of want to sit down over one heel with the other leg extended straight out. If that's really difficult for you, then you can just start with shallower side squats. So just try not to squat down so far for now. And again, it's just a warm-up, so it's better that you start easy and increase the intensity as you warm up. Also, if it helps to make it easier, you can always use your hands to support yourself through the movement. Either rest your hands on the floor at the bottom of the squat, or rest your hands around your hips or on your legs. And that'll just help to take some of the weight load off your legs. Now, on the other hand, if you want to make this harder, then you just have to do the opposite. Put your feet further apart, squat down deeper, and lean forward further, because leaning forward is going to help open up your adductors more. And on top of that, keep your hands up. So make sure your hands and arms aren't helping to reduce the weight load or stretch load. And either way, whether you want to make this warm up harder or easier, try your best to increase your range of motion, even if it's just a little bit, and of course, only if you feel safe and comfortable. Okay, you should be starting to feel really warm now, so it's a good time to move into our dynamic warm-up stretches. The first one we have is 20 side leg raises. And like I did in the previous session, I'm going to keep encouraging you to focus on lifting your leg in a controlled raise, okay? So don't just swing it. And of course, if it helps, grab a chair or lean on a wall to help your balance so you can really focus more on the stretch. Okay, so that you don't swing your leg, make sure you initiate the lift with your antagonist, your hip abductors on the outside of your leg. Even if it's a bit harder, this is part of the way we're training to get strong at our maximum range of motion. Another thing I do is use my abductors to slow my descending leg in the eccentric phase. That means I'm not suddenly dropping my leg, which is safer, and it also means that I get to train my abductors to get strong through their eccentric movement too. As for posture, make sure that if you need to lean back for balance, you still keep your torso aligned straight with your raised leg. If you lean forward like over your chest, sure, you might be able to get your leg up higher, but you'll also reduce the stretch on your adductors, and that's going to make a waste of the warm-up, okay? So as you lift your leg, make sure it keeps a straight line through your head, shoulders, hips, and heel. Okay, side leg raises are done. Let's do 20 front leg raises for each leg. And with these, almost everything I said before about the side leg raises also applies to these front leg raises. So that means firstly, not swinging your leg, and secondly, watching your posture. And again, the benefit of this is that you get to train your antagonists, your hip flexors and quads, and make them stronger throughout the maximum range of motion of your hamstrings. That's one of the keys to strong side splits and functional flexibility, okay, is training all of the related muscles to work throughout extreme ranges of motion. So yeah, try not to initiate the leg raise by throwing any part of your body first. Really focus on making your hip flexors do as much of the work as possible. The other thing you really need to focus on is keeping a straight back. Of course, if you bend your back in the leg raise, if you lean forward over your leg, of course you'll get your leg up higher, but you're going to reduce the effectiveness of the warm-up and the stretch on your hamstrings. And that way, you won't be as prepared for the strong side splits exercises that are coming up straight after this. So yeah, try not to swing your leg around and try to keep your back straight. And if it helps, you can always hold onto a chair or a wall or anything that will help with your balance. Okay, great work making it through the warm-up exercises. Coming up now are 3 cycles of 5 exercises, the same exercises that we did in the previous session, but with 1 extra rep for each exercise. Remember that if it feels better for you, just start light and ease yourself into this. And then as your body feels ready for it, you can slowly increase the range of each stretch and the intensity of each contraction. First up, we have full side splits. We have 17 reps to do, targeting our hip adductors. Remember that you only need to do what you can do with these. Just go as far into the stretch as you can, comfortably and safely, and then start to contract your adductors from there. Now, a really important tip is that you really want to stay in the stretch. Try not to contract yourself out of the stretch. Obviously, when you contract there, when you contract at your max ROM, it'll reduce your stretch, but there's no need to take it so far that you completely remove the stretch. That's why I always say keep the stretch or stay in the stretch, because you can contract your target muscles while stretching your target muscles. Keep that in mind for all of your exercises. Relax into the stretch and then contract in the stretch, okay? So relax into the stretch, contract in the stretch. I'll do my best to repeat this tip to help you apply it throughout the session. Okay, next up is kneeling adductor stretch, same as a previous session. Set your stance long, and instead of resting your knee completely on the floor, we're going to try to lift the rear knee up and bear the load as much as possible with the stretched adductors. That's the really important part, okay? You need to get your rear adductors working to suspend your rear knee in the stretch. So raise your rear knee into the stretch with your back straight and tall, and then contract your rear adductor in the stretch. Try to keep the stretch as you lower your rear knee to the floor, and then repeat. Up, contract, down. Up, contract, down. The whole time, try to keep that stretch. Now, this is another really important point about positioning, okay? Firstly, you can't lean your torso forward. You have to keep your back straight and tall. Secondly, you really can't set your hips square across the front, and you really can't have your rear knee pointing straight down at the floor. If you set your position like that, then mechanically, you're just not going to be able to stretch your rear adductors. You'll just stretch your hip flexors instead. What you have to do is turn your hips out so you're not having your hips flat at the front, and you have to turn your rear knee out. You can't have your rear knee pointing down, okay? Your knee has to point out. You'll need your stool or chair for the next exercise, the elevated hamstring stretch. Target muscle is your hamstrings group, and we've got 17 reps on both sides. When you've got your stool or chair, place your heel onto it with a straight leg. Then there's 3 steps for this exercise. 1, stretch your hamstrings. You need to lean forward with a straight back until you feel a stretch in your hamstrings. 2, contract your hamstrings. Okay, so while your hamstrings are stretched out, you need to contract your hamstrings by pushing your heel down through the seat. That's the simplest way to do it. And then 3, you need to rotate your foot and leg towards your center line and then out to your side, just like I am on the screen there. Technically, it's medial rotation in and then lateral rotation out. And it's going to help us stretch and work our hamstrings further than we did in the previous 2 weeks. So there you go, 1 rotation in and out is 1 rep. Okay, so again, make sure your hamstrings are stretched right out as far as you can go without pain or serious discomfort. And then contract your hamstrings in the stretch and rotate your leg in and out for 1 rep. Really make sure they're stretched when you contract them. Okay, stay focused on good posture and good technique. Relax into the stretch, contract in the stretch. Relax into the stretch and then contract in the stretch. And then when you finish them, move into position for the next exercise, which is our side squats. Okay, side squats, and as always, we're targeting our adductor group, and we have 17 reps on each leg. Just remember that when you squat down on one side, from the bottom of the squat, make sure you do your best to make your adductors contract when your quads push you out of the squat, okay? Consciously and purposefully engage your adductors as you push out of the squat. Of course, your quads are going to do a lot of the work, and that's fine, but try to make your adductors work with them. It can help to try pushing your extended heel down through the floor in the lift phase. If you want it to be easier, use your hands to take some of the weight, and if you want it to be harder, put your feet further apart and squat down lower without your hands supporting you at all. And then when all of that's done, you can start to position yourself for the next exercise. And last exercise for this cycle, the seated adductor stretch, targeting our adductors on the inside of our thighs and hips. When you're seated with your knees wide, you can use your abductors to pull your knees down and wide. And then when you're in this stretch, when your adductors on the inside are stretched, use the same muscles to contract. So use your stretched adductors to contract. That's 1 rep, so just continue carefully all the way to finish your set. Just remember you can try different positions for this, seated upright with your elbows on your knees, or seated straight up with no elbows, or lying all the way back. Whatever works best for you. And we're about to finish the first cycle of exercises, and when we do, we're going to repeat the exercises with another 2 cycles, starting again with full side splits. Make sure you're positioned safely, and I'll count you through your 17 reps at slightly different rates to help you get strong at your max ROM. Okay, let's go, and 1, 2, stretch your adductors, 3, 4, contract your adductors, 5, 6, remember to focus on great technique, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Okay, done. Great work completing your second set of full splits. Take your time to move safely out of this stretch and into the next stretch, which is the kneeling adductor stretch. Kneeling adductors again, and we have 17 reps for both legs, targeting our adductors. Remember the stretch contract technique as we work through these. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep your back straight. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, one more, and 17. Excellent work with the first leg. Let's finish the other leg now. And 1, 2, 3, back straight and tall. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Okay, all done for that set. Great work. Let's take the time to ease out of this stretch and move into our next stretch, our elevated hamstrings. Okay, elevated roll hamstring stretch. This is another exercise that we have to work both legs, 17 reps each, targeting our hamstrings. Make sure you contract that stretch, okay? Let's go. And 1, 2, 3, keep your back straight. 4, 5, 6, 7, bend from the hips. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Great job. Let's change over legs and finish the set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Focus on technique. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, last one, and 17. And done. Great work finishing your elevated hamstrings. Let's use this time to get ready for our next stretching exercise, side squats. Okay, feet wide for side squats now. We've got 17 reps for both sides and we're targeting our adductors. Keep that in mind so that you really try your best to stretch and contract your adductors as we work through the set. Okay, let's go. And 1, 2, 2. Stretch your adductors. 3, 4, 4. Engage your adductors. 5, 6, 6. Remember to contract your adductors. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12. Extend the stretch if you can. 13, 14, 15, 16, one more, 17, and 17. Great work with your side squats. Take your time to ease out of the position and then start to get ready for the next exercise, the seated adductor stretch. Time for 17 reps of our seated adductor stretch, and our target muscle here is our adductor group. Remember that we want to contract our target muscle in the stretch. Okay, let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, last one, 17. Excellent work finishing that set of seated adductor stretches and the second cycle of exercises. Try to use this time to move into the next exercise, the full side splits, as we start our final cycle of exercises. Next up, we have our third and final set of side splits. Okay, let's go. And 1, 2, stretch your adductors. 3, 4, contract your adductors. 5, 6, remember to focus on great technique. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Okay, and great work completing your third and final set of full splits. Take your time to move safely out of this stretch and into the next stretch, which is the kneeling adductor stretch. Kneeling adductors again, and we have 17 reps for both legs, targeting our adductors. Remember the stretch contract technique as we work through these. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, keep your back straight. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, one more, and 17. Excellent work with the first leg. Let's finish the other leg now. And 1, 2, 3, back straight and tall. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Okay, all done for that set. Great work. Let's take the time to ease out of this stretch and move into our next stretch, our elevated hamstrings. Okay, elevated roll hamstring stretch. This is another exercise that we have to work both legs, 17 reps each, targeting our hamstrings. Make sure you contract that stretch, okay? Let's go. And 1, 2, 3, keep your back straight. 4, 5, 6, 7, bend from the hips. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Great job. Let's change over legs and finish the set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Focus on technique. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, last one, and 17. And done. Great work finishing your elevated hamstrings. Let's use this time to get ready for our next stretching exercise, side squats. Okay, feet wide for side squats now. We've got 17 reps for both sides and we're targeting our adductors. Keep that in mind so that you really try your best to stretch and contract your adductors as we work through the set. Okay, let's go. And 1, 2, 2. Stretch your adductors. 3, 4, 4. Engage your adductors. 5, 6, 6. Remember to contract your adductors. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12. Extend the stretch if you can. 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, one more, 17, and 17. Great work with your side squats. Take your time to ease out of the position and then start to get ready for the next exercise, the seated adductor stretch. Time for our final exercise, which is 17 reps of our seated adductor stretch, and our target muscle here is our adductor group. Remember that we want to contract our target muscle in the stretch, okay? Let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, last one, 17. Excellent work finishing the final set of seated adductor stretches and in fact all of the exercises. And that means that's session number 8 out of 30 done. It's so good that you had the discipline to make it through. And as always, I hope you're feeling great and I hope you're feeling a little bit stronger and a little bit more flexible. Today's tip probably should have gone with the first or second session, but anyway, I'll still give it here, and it's in regards to intelligent repetition, and specifically that you're training intentionally and focused. Okay, so briefly, we can define intentional with similar terms like purposeful as opposed to accidental, and also conscious as opposed to, say, involuntary. And really simply, when you train intentionally, you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. You really know it. So in this program, when you intentionally train for strong side splits, you're aware of your body position, your breathing, and most importantly, stretching and contracting your target muscles. You really know it. And then to define focused, well, if you see me on the screen when I go through each training session, my expression is usually pretty blank because I'm trying to focus on demonstrating the techniques clearly for you. So I'm not being distracted by my phone or my children or anything. Just concentrating on training correctly and intelligently. Okay, so I encourage the same for you. Make your reps intelligent reps by training intentionally and staying focused. And as always, do let me know how you found today's session and if you have any questions at all. And if you want to work on more than strong side splits, make sure you subscribe to this channel and check out the other 10,000 method progressive training videos. And then when you come back in 2 days' time to follow the next new video in the series, we'll work through the final session of the beginner section and we'll add one more rep to each stretching exercise as we continue training for strong side splits. Until then, stay disciplined and intentional and focused with your training.